Hi, this is Tamara from Moogly, and welcome to today's live. We're talking today about how to remove those first few rows of crochet. So, first things first, I need to hit refresh on my page and try and find this video. Should be showing up here any minute so that I can follow along and read your comments and make sure that I don't miss any of your questions. Let's see. It doesn't seem to be showing up on my end, so hopefully it is showing up on your end. There it is. Okay, just that little delay always gets me. Make sure I've got my volume off so we don't get an echo, and we should be all set. All right, there we go. Now I can see that we are live. And no, I don't want premium. Thank you, YouTube. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and leave comments. Let me know you're watching. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you have any questions about what I'm doing, definitely let me know. So like I say, what we're doing today is we're talking about how to remove the beginning rows of crochet. So why would you do this? The example I just gave is basically, there was one time I was making a vest and it was side to side, basically front lapel all the way around to front lapel. It's a nifty way to make a project, but I'd already made the armholes, I'd made the back, I'd made the second armhole, I was on the second front, I was almost done, and I realized that very first front I'd made was too long. I needed to take off about 3 or 4 rows. It was just too much. They needed to go. What am I going to do, right? I'm not going to pull apart the entire project and start over. That's crazy. I'm almost done with this sweater. So instead, I did a little bit of crochet surgery and removed those first few rows with scissors. Pulled them right off, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. I'm not going to do it on a great big sweater. I'm going to do it on a little swatch, but it should give you the idea. Now, the more complicated the stitch pattern you try to do this to, the more difficult it's going to be. Basically, if you've got some crazy lace, you're going to need to pay a lot more attention. If it's something simple, like double crochet, it's going to be a lot easier. So you'll need to weigh that as well. Lace patterns are going to be a lot more difficult to do this to, but if it's something simple, it's a great way to save a project without having to start over. So hi, Beth and Pamela and Sharon. Thanks so much for tuning in. So let's go ahead and I'm going to pull over the hand camera here and we'll switch cameras so we can see what I'm doing. Okay, so here I've got a little swatch made up with Bernat Maker Home Deck. This will work with just about any yarn, but again, just like simpler stitches, it's going to be easier if you can actually see those stitches. I'm having trouble talking today. Sorry about that. A super fuzzy yarn is going to be more difficult to do this with. The smoother the yarn, the easier it's going to be. And the tool you're going to need is a yarn needle, a pair of scissors, of course, and a piece of yarn. And I like to use contrasting yarn so it's easier to see. This is Bernat Maker Home Deck again, but it could be a different yarn. It's just scrap yarn, whatever you've got laying around, quick and easy. And you want to start by cutting off long enough piece that for however long you're going to need it. You're going to need it to be a bit longer. You don't want to pull through. You don't want to accidentally pull it out, but longer than whatever row you're inserting it to. And that'll make a little bit more sense as I continue here. So yay, I'm so glad you guys came over from Facebook. Thanks for joining me over here. For anybody who missed the Facebook Live I did earlier, it will be embedded on the Moogly blog at the link in the description, along with this one. So I've got my contrasting yarn on my yarn needle here. And essentially what we're going to be doing is something that might be familiar to the knitters out there. We're going to be putting in a lifeline. So first things first, let's decide where do we want to remove our yarn? How many rows do we want to pull off? I'm just going to pick a place right about the middle because this is just a little swatch here. So what I want to do is I want to find the base of each of those stitches because I want to keep this row, but I want to cut everything off below that row. So I want to find the base of those stitches that I want to keep. And then I just want to insert my needle. You can go right to left, left to right. I'm right-handed, so this is just easier for me. And we just want to go right into those 2 loops that make up the base of that stitch right there. And then we go to the next one and carefully do that. We don't want to pierce the yarn at all. So you want to make sure this is actually a little bit sharp. Might be a little easier with a duller needle. But you just take your time, just like you would with knitting if you're a knitter, and get those 2 loops at the bottom of each of these stitches. Now, again, depending on the type of stitch you're making, might be a little different on the bottom, but you know, I had to pick to show it on something, so I'm showing it on double crochet. And you just keep taking your time getting under those loops. Hi, Carol from Ireland and Nuket from Turkey. Hope I pronounced that right. Sorry if I didn't. And Elaine, Thank you so much. I'm going to take a break here and just pull this one through a little bit. I want to make sure to leave several inches there so it doesn't pull out on me. And then I can go back and get the other ones. It just starts to drag a little bit. That's why I like to go ahead and pull it through, but everybody's different. Got just a couple more here. And then one right here. And it looks like that right there, yep, that is the base of one too. It never hurts to catch a little extra. If you, you can always pull it back out if you don't need it. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull that through. Go ahead and pull that through. There we are. And then I want to make sure that's nice and centered so I don't accidentally pull one of these ends out as I go. So now I can set the needle aside. And then it's the scary part, right? Time for the scissors. So what we're going to do is just cut that row right underneath where we've saved it. If you're real nervous about it, you can start practicing lower down, but we're going to just go ahead and cut it. Remember, these are the ones we don't want. So I like to just cut right through the center of those stitches. And we'll cut that part off with our scissors and set it aside. Now this part gets a little bit messy. You got to pick out all those little bits from the bottom here, from the top of your stitches. So just take your time again. Some of them, because they were stitches, they'll be a little caught on each other until all you have left, you see right here, all we want to have left on that lifeline is the bottom of those stitches there. So we'll just take our time and pull out all these little nubbins. Might want to have a trash can nearby. I guess that's one supply I forgot to mention. Let's use my needle here to help me. And if you find, you missed a spot, you have to pull the scissors back out. No big deal. We're just going to continue to pull these little bits out here. Everything underneath our lifeline must go. There we go. Get these little guys out of the way. So I hope you guys are doing well today and enjoying some spring weather if you're lucky enough to have it where you're at. Let's see here. There we are. Okay. Now, what we're going to want to do is we need to make sure to take care of this end right here. So we want to make sure to weave this one in. And this one's going to be a little bit more precarious. But this little guy right here, and again, this probably isn't the best yarn actually for the weaving of the end part, but you'll want to weave that in. You may need to use a little bit of sewing thread for this part, but you do what you need to do, right? It's better than pulling out the whole project. But we want to get that end woven in just as well as we can. Oops. Before it goes anywhere. There we are. So I'm just going to tuck that in there for now. This is just my little swatch, so I'm not too worried about this particular swatch, but on your project, take your time with it and pull that one through and tack it down real well until all you've got left here is the stuff that's on the lifeline. So what are we going to do, right? Basically, what we're missing now is our foundation chain. So we're going to take our green yarn. Let me get these little bits here out of the way. Made quite a mess. There we are. Pull up my green yarn and the hook that I used for the rest of the project. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn it over and carefully put in our chains. So we can go under the 2 loops there at the bottom of that first stitch. Grab our yarn, pull it through. And it is a little fiddly, but like I say, this is crochet surgery. It gets a little fiddly sometimes. Okay, I'm going to just kind of do a chain there to mark that one down. And then we just want to go right down to the next one. There we are. And sort of basically make our chain in it. We're just going to basically do what is a chain? It's a slip stitch. But these slip stitches have homes. So we just want to take our time and get under each of those pairs of loops and basically make a slip stitch in it. There we are. So you can see I'm catching each of those stitches with a slip stitch. And then if you want to, you can go ahead and pull that lifeline out of those stitches that we've secured. I wouldn't normally do that until I was all the way across, but for demonstration, and you can see now the bottom of those stitches basically have their chain worked into them. It's not always going to be the prettiest. If you're working a border, that's even better because you can cover up any strange little sins that occur, any little twists that pop up while you're doing this. But much like surgery, sometimes there's a little bit of a scar, but this is a pretty handy trick for taking off those extra rows when you don't want to just completely start that project over. So I'll just continue to work my way across here. Hope you guys are enjoying this tip. I hope you find it handy. Although, honestly, I hope you never have to use it, but if you do, I hope you find it handy. Everybody makes mistakes sometimes when they're crocheting. And normally frogging will do it, but sometimes that's just not what you want to do. So it looks like I've got just a couple more to go here. So there's one. It looks like probably one more there. And then get that in there. And you can, sometimes it helps if you have that point on your hook to help push you through. Then it looks like we've got one more loop here. I want to make sure I don't lose that guy. I accidentally end up doing some stitches, undoing some stitches rather. So I'll just do a simple one right there. And then I can pull that blue string out all together. Go ahead and finish that chain off just as you normally would. And weave in that end. There we go. And there is a bit of crochet surgery. We've removed those first few rows. If we wanted to, we could probably pull out those little bits and have two little swatches now. So there we go. That's how to do some crochet surgery and remove those first few rows when you find yourself in that particular pinch. So that is about it for that. I didn't see any questions come up. I'm going to go ahead and move this camera. There we go. I don't want to move it when people are looking through it because I'm always afraid it's going to make somebody seasick. But anyway, that's how to remove those first few rows. I hope this tip helps you. If you do need it, fingers crossed you don't, right? But like I say, it's a great way to save a project when you get really far into it and then realize those first few rows have got to go. Just take your time, get that lifeline in there, get it in the bottom of every stitch and every little loop that you think you might want to save. And then you can go ahead and just start pulling out those stitches. And, then just take care of those ends, put your new little chain on there, and you'll be all set. So thanks so much for tuning in. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that tip. Again, go to the link in the description. There's a bunch of cool stuff going on Moogly right now. We've got giveaways, as always. There's a fantastic new pattern that I'll be filming a video tutorial for this afternoon, the bunny squish. Pattern's already up. Video tutorial will be up later this week. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.